welcome back to another edition of the Dirty Verdict Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Peter Taft.
I am full-time host Kyle Herbert, joined as always by...
part-time co-host Bill Ogden.
You're pretty full-time.
Yeah, I am full-time.
And boy, do we have a guest for you today.
One thing people say about lawyers is pretty boring, not very exciting, not very memorable. We've got a little bit of an exception to the rule in our guest today. So we are very pleased and fortunate to be joined by Mark Metzger. Thank you, Mark, for joining us this week.
Oh, thank you for having me.
We could probably go...
Boring, that's
me. Yeah, we will find out as we go along that is not true.
So I will just jump.
Even tackle a subject like Mark Metzger. Where do we even start?
So we're getting close to Halloween just based on Kyle Herbert's office decorations now. And it reminds me, so Mark and I went to law school together. He's a year ahead of me. We had a couple classes, but we didn't talk overly a lot. And so I've been tracking him on social media for the last 10 years. And in my head, I'm like, that guy's the coolest troublemaker I've ever seen. And it's just always just doing troublemaking in a good way, like the good kind of trouble in Galveston. And so he's from Galveston Island. And so obviously with Halloween, we have to talk about
Let's start with that one.
The mask and walk on the beach.
You want us to ask you questions? Or you just want to just walk us through what happened?
I just asked.
All right. So you were arrested.
Correct.
On the beach.
Yes.
Dressed in costume.
Absolutely.
Tell our viewers what the costume was.
Why don't you just reset this real quick? There's a news story, lawyer...
Multiple.
Multiple. National. Walking down the beach in Galveston as a tropical storm or something is approaching, dressed as Halloween Dylan or Michael Myers with the mask, the white mask.
Mask and the knife.
Jumpsuit.
And that's pretty much the story. But then you take it from there.
Yeah, and that's it. That event was piggybacked on a bunch of different events in Galveston. So in Galveston, we have a lot of ghost tour companies that do ghost tours around different parts of the island. And one of the ghost tours happens to go right behind one of the properties that I own off 25th and Market. All right. And they would go through the alley. And at the time, I was living there. And the back window of the bedroom is right next to the alley. So for some reason, they would stop right behind our bedroom window. And I guess this a house across from the alley. It's much of crazy stuff happen there. And so there's these ghost tours there. And I just got the idea of just start messing with the ghost tour people. And so I got the Michael Myers. And to caveat that, any costume that I choose or anything I do, it's three things as I select things. Number one, you got to have I'm very particular about keeping it original as possible. You got to have the size usually, so that played to a factor, being 6'4", and then the mannerisms, stay in character. Is something
you got to be committed to the role.
It's stay in character, don't break character, and it's a pretty easy character to take on.
He just walks around menacingly,
just stares at people, does the head twist just every now and then, and that's about it. And so, it was real simple, just a mask and a jumpsuit, something you can throw on real quick. And so I started messing with the ghost tours for probably about 2-3 years. I'd wait till they passed by. I'd go out the back alley entrance to the end of the alley, and then you could hear, when they started to see you, because you hear the women start to scream, you said. And then you saw camera flashes go off, and if they try to, they're about 100 feet away. They couldn't, if you even try to come up to you, you could easily just slowly walk into the back door and shut it real quick. So by the time they got there, they would know where. So I had this reputation for messing with the ghost tours people for probably a good couple of years. And then
did they ever call you and say quit it?
No, they couldn't find out who I was.
Oh, perfect.
Because then we started to get in, and I got to say there's an attorney, who's one of my best friends, Chris Carlson. He was coming down there a lot too. So he had some other ideas let's set up crime scenes in the alley for when the ghost tours started to come by. So we would, and it's a non-paved alley. So it's just a lot of dirt and sand and rubble. And so we would throw some fake blood that we get from the holiday store on the ground. We'd take probably a bunch of Mardi Gras beads, and we would just rip them off our neck. And so they'd throw them on the ground, and some of the women's clothing, and they would have
a pinky toe.
We'd have a sandbag, and we would just drag the sandbag across the back with all these articles everywhere, to the point to where someone actually called the police thinking something was going on there. And we told them, so on the day of the storm, we had nothing else to do. Everyone was evacuating. Court closed, I think, noon that day. And so I don't know how it came up, but we were throwing the idea around, like, yeah, let's go walk down the beach with Michael Myers. It started as just doing a photo shoot because we were on just the photos, really the videos.
And your friend is photoing?
No, I took the photo myself. Chris couldn't make it down there, so I put on the costume, went to Murdoch's, went underneath the pier, and everyone's like, this photo that went around the world was like, oh, who is this famous photographer? This is a great shot. And I was on selfie mode against the pier with like a 10-second timer. And I was like, pop, and I'm like ran in front of it. I'm kind of looking behind me like, okay, so I get in the right spot. 3, 2, and look forward, and bam, that's what got the shot from behind me facing the pleasure pier. Okay, cool photos. Because I'm not a big YouTuber, TikTok, any of that crazy stuff. I just never had the time to get into that stuff. I wish I did 15 years ago, seeing all these kids now and seeing their videos. I'm like, oh, that's child's play compared to the ideas that I've got.
No, 50 million views.
I'm too old now to everyone's like, you're never too old. Like, no, I'm turned 44 next month. I just, I'm not in my early 20s, can't get away with it like some of these kids can. But so we just, posted the photo on Facebook. That was funny. And I was like, well, let me go walk down the beach a little bit, mess with the people on the pleasure pier because they're probably looking down. And then as I'm walking towards the pier, the beach patrol is underneath the pier. I didn't see them, but they were there. They saw me, and they started playing the Halloween theme on the PA. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go mess with them.
Playing along.
Yeah. So walk up to them. They're playing along. We get a stare down competition, and then I keep walking, and then they come up to me for a photo, take a photo, and they're kind of like, hey, go down there and mess with the other guy, So 1 block turned into 3 blocks, turned into more blocks, and I was like, well, how far am I gonna take this? I figured I'd just walk down to probably the San Luis and probably take the mask off, disappear back into the neighborhood, and walk back to my truck. But didn't make it because the police showed up, and I thought they were part of it's just ignorance. I figured the beach patrol and GPD had some sort of communication or line of communication going on because they clearly saw me with them. So I was like, maybe they relayed what's up with this guy, and like, oh man, he's a nice guy.
So what did they say when they came up to you?
I couldn't hear.
No. Did they have guns? Guns drawn?
I couldn't hear anything. The storm had started to trend up a little bit more. So it was crazy wind coming in. It started to sprinkle a little bit. I could hear a word, but I didn't see the guns. And they couldn't see my face.
Did you have a knife?
Yes, it was
Fake.
rubber plastic.
Yeah.
Bendable, like $12 prop you get from the Spirit Halloween store.
Sure.
And when I saw the weapons come out, that's like, oh, they're not joking right now.
Yeah.
And it's because I just stayed in character. And with the music,
As one,
yeah,
if you're committed, he's committed to the role.
at that point, yeah.
You got to keep going.
If you're,
I guess there were some people on the seawall. I don't know who they were, but they were filming it the whole time, and that their video is what got out. So I don't know who they were. We weren't even filming or anything.
What did they charge you with anything?
Disorderly conduct.
Did they cuss?
Walking alone in a mask, dressed like a murderer.
And they said that if it was and there's a bunch of different subsections under disorderly conduct, of course.
Butterbell knows that.
And one of them would have been, I think, gesturing. The gesture,
Menacing gestures.
it caused alarm to the public or something like that. And of course, I was 300 yards from anybody. There's no one else on the beach. And
Did you consider making a run for it?
no, not with the officer on the far right, because he was like this.
yeah, you don't want the shaky hands. You want calm hands when they're holding a gun.
That's when, and the first was like, drop the knife. And of course, the wind's coming this way. The knife's in my right hand. I don't want to make a movement like that because it's so light. I would have to throw it to get distance from me. So I kind of did like a little hand flick like that. And of course, the wind blew it back, and I felt it hit my leg and go to the ground. And it's right at my feet. Like, and they can't see I'm thinking they can see my face. Like they can see clearly. No, they just saw that face.
Yeah, they saw Michael Myers.
And so did they not think it was a mask? They just thought you were a lunatic mask killer?
Yeah, they just, I don't know what the calls for service came in for, or what 911 callers were saying what to them. But
What happened to that case?
got dismissed.
I figured.
I'm sure the shaky gun guy rolled up. He's like, "Oh, this is some dork," and then he was like, 6'4", 260 guy.
We should paint a little bit of a picture for some of our viewers that are just listeners. You're not a small fella. What are you running?
I'm about 6'4", 285.
Okay, so to be fair to shaky cop guy, you're a brick shithouse at the size of a deep freeze
In a jumpsuit.
in a jumpsuit in a hurricane.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, like I
Perfect storm. Yeah.
It was a 4XLT.
can't.
It's still a little tight.
Yeah, was that a custom Michael Myers outfit or
Gotta be.
off the shelf?
Well, I just ordered I had the mask for a while, but Dickies and there's other companies that make those suits for guys that work in the plant.
Union.
And I ordered a 2XLT thinking that would be fine, but that was way too small. So I get a 4XLT.
Yeah, I get that same problem.
Yeah, I get to say I get the 4XL too.
So back in
Yeah.
that story was interesting. Okay, so are you from the island originally?
I was born in Webster.
Webster. Webster is city. You mean you're from the city of Houston?
Yeah. Harris County is, I guess Webster falls in Harris County, but I was.
Did you go to Clear Lake High School?
I went to a private military school,
Around here?
Marine Military Academy down in.
Yeah.
Oh,
Got it.
Oh, in Harlingen. Okay.
I'm actually a high school dropout. So I was born in Webster, right on the corner of Highway 3 and Nassau Road 1.
Yes.
It's where my mom was able to get to in 79, as far as she was able to get to before I was about to come out. And so I think I was born in the parking lot of the hospital there.
My mom operated an upholstery shop at Highway 3 and Old Galveston Road for forever. So I
I was born right there. And then I originally went to Elkins High School in Missouri City.
Okay.
And
Elkins.
was bullied.
What?
And I was a trumpet player in the marching band. Was in Boy Scouts, Civil Air Patrol, anything that kept me away from girls or being cool. And but I loved it.
You guys are two peas in a pod.
I was a leader. Civil Air Patrol. I was in Air Force JROTC, Model Rocketry Club. I was a trumpet player in the marching band, and the bullying was pretty relentless. And
Hands down, you have to be the coolest nerd of all time.
I'm still a nerd.
I know, that's the best part. That's what I'm saying. Like,
And,
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, the me then has not changed. You can ask guys that knew me in the mid '90s. I'm the same person.
Nice.
And but yeah, we would skip school. I would skip school when I was a senior with a couple of my friends to come down to Galveston just to surf during the weeks. I couldn't take the beatings or just the heckling, and it was very very bad. But it didn't affect me in a negative way. I was like, well, just out of sight, out of mind. I just won't go there. I wasn't stupid. I just thought if I showed up for the tests, then I would pass. Of course, being 17, 18, you don't think about things like minimum attendance requirements, things like that. And then I got,
I've always felt like if I can pass your class without attending, that's your problem, not mine.
yeah, but they did. Yeah. That's what I thought.
I always say, if I fail your class, you're not a very good teacher.
Right.
Well, my father got back in the picture and was like, this isn't going to happen. So I got a one-way ticket to Marine Military Academy in Harlingen, Texas, which is why I graduated high school in 99.
Did you enjoy that?
I did not at the time. But at the same time, I thought it was a fresh start. Like, none of these guys know who I am.
Sure.
None of them know me.
They don't know about the trumpet.
I could reinvent myself. Yeah, I didn't go off for the band. They wanted me to do the band. I took and at Marine Military Academy, everyone has to take an elective. You have to take a sport. And so I chose football, which I never played a down. But I learned the workouts. I learned how to do a couple of the things there. But yeah, graduated in 99 from MMA. And because of that experience, we really couldn't afford to go to college after that. So because of the Marine Corps influence that we had there, I chose to enlist straight into the Marine Corps.
Wow.
Straight out of, so at 18, you went Marine Corps?
19. Because
19, yeah.
I had to repeat my senior year of high school.
So what year was that?
I went 99, 2000. So I was supposed to graduate high school in 98 and then graduate in 99 because I went to MMA. Came back home briefly after high school graduation and then went to the Marines.
So you went to the Marines pre 9/11.
Yeah, like a year before 9/11. You really timed that out well.
About 2 years before, yeah.
Ooh.
How long were you in the Corps?
I did 4 years active and then inactive reserve. I got recalled briefly when I was at A&M, but that didn't last long, and I went back.
Nice.
after that, I went to A&M and just got an A&M. It was quite a arduous process, but once I was on campus, walked on to the football team. I had some fun. So I had a lot of testosterone, a lot of anger.
What did you do on the football team?
Linebacker. Well, it was weird because we had Coach Francione there, and he really wasn't a linebacker guy, from what I could tell. He was more of a D-line, and he just wanted kind of just a bunch of light defensive backs running all around the field. So there really wasn't an outside-inside linebacker position. So although I had the linebacker build, frame, body, I was kind of too heavy for what he wanted as a linebacker, but I was also too light for what they wanted as a defensive end. So I kind of went back and forth between a linebacker, defensive end, mostly on practice squad.
What was your size then?
It's funny. I looked bigger than I do now, but I was lighter. So I was probably 6'4", 240, between 230 and 250, but definitely a lot bigger. But just, how that is when you get older.
But do you ever think tight end? Because I think you're kind of the tight end size is this.
You see that? It was one of my biggest regrets back then. We don't have the technology we had today. I wore glasses. I was blind as a bat. I couldn't see the football until it hit me right in the face. I've had, all the LASIK surgery since then. I can see, better than bald eagle now. But back then, I was blind as a bat. I couldn't see. I couldn't catch. I could just hit. So I like to think that, if I'd have went to the surgeries back then, or if we had that type of technology or could afford the technology, I'd like to think it would have been a great tight end. But, woulda, coulda, shoulda.
What'd you study at A&M?
Philosophy.
Philosophy. All right. Why? Just did you know you were going to go to law school?
I had no idea.
So you just liked philosophy?
Yeah, just like.
I love philosophy. I read a lot of it.
Favorite philosopher? Immanuel Kant.
I knew you were going to say that, so.
He had that written all over you.
So Mark, I interviewed Tony Busby last week, and he did the Corps and then did Marine Corps of Cadets at A&M, and then the Marine Corps. And so he's on a boat and, knows he wants to get out. He doesn't know any lawyers. Someone says, "Oh, you should think about being a lawyer." He starts taking LSATs, and he figures, I've got a little affinity for this. He's testing well on it. And then that's where he decides to go to law school. So for you did Marines first, then the Corps. But when I heard you say you were a philosophy major, it makes me think you were maybe had your eye on law school at some point.
No, not at all. I went to A&M with one purpose only, and that was to get a degree that I could go back into Marine Corps as an officer.
Oh.
I had my whole set on just getting, that's another reason why I chose philosophy. I'm like, well, if they needed just a degree, I'm going to do something that I love to do, not something that's going to make me money or give me a job down the road, because I know what my job is. My job's going to be going back into the Marines as an officer. And so that's one of the reasons I chose philosophy. Had I knew I was not going to go back into the Marines, and at that time knew I wasn't going to law school, I had no intentions on it.
Right.
I would have probably liked to try for something like architecture, or maybe vet school or something like that, and be a veterinarian, or, I love architecture, construction, would have liked to have gone to the architecture school or something like that. But because I thought I was going back in the Marine Corps, I chose something that I love, and because I wasn't worried about having a job down the road, because there really isn't a degree that they had at the time, even though I don't think now, that does what I did in the Marine Corps, which was intelligence. So I chose that. But then later on down the road, towards my senior year, I was a tutor for the student athletic body, and they had no tutors at the time in the College of Liberal Arts. And so one of the biggest courses that, especially the basketball players for some reason, basketball and track and field girls were taking were logic. And that's a liberal arts school. And everyone took logic for one of two reasons. You take logic because it subs you out of a math credit, or you think it's going to help you on the LSAT for some reason. And so half of the students were, how's this, sub me out of a math credit? And then the other ones were, well, they're asking me questions, how does this help us on the LSAT? And I had no idea what the LSAT was. I didn't know what was going on. And so I took the LSAT just so I could take it, so I could have an answer for the students that I was tutoring as to how this translates and how this might help you on the LSAT. So that's how I took the LSAT. I didn't take the LSAT to get in law school. I thought it would be
You were just curious.
That would make you a more effective tutor.
Law school, being a lawyer was like nowhere on your radar at that point.
And the three of us took the LSAT for fun as well, just for kicks.
Did you take like a study course or anything for it? Did you was that first test run good, or did you?
I took a study course for the second time. I took an LSAT twice.
Okay.
So I took it the first time. Just what's funny is the first time I had a higher score.
Really?
So I had a higher score the first time, but and I can't remember what it was, but I'm a left-handed. So I was like, well, I'm a left-handed person, left-handed test taker. I could just walk right in there, sit down, take the test. Didn't study for it. And I just wanted to have an answer for the students who questioned me on how this would help.
Just wanted to, you were like, I don't have any plans this Saturday. Should just spend 6 hours in a room.
When I thought about doing that LSAT that was being, the next one that was being administered was at A&M.
Oh, okay.
Blocker was like, well, it's being held here. That's easy. So I didn't have to go anywhere for it. And that's how I took the LSAT. But as far as law school is concerned, that's a whole nother story.
Well, we're here for it.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, the question I have now is, because we know you then went to South Texas. What made you choose to go to law school?
Well, initially, jilted lover. I never had a girlfriend in my life, ever. All throughout, obviously, high school, Marines, never really had anyone that really caught my eye. There was a couple.
Well, if you needed a girlfriend, the Marines would have issued you one, right?
Exactly. But there was a couple when I was in the Marines, but that it didn't go anywhere. And so finally at A&M, for the first time, I was like, well, this is where I'm at. I'm going to be here for a while. I can maybe have a girlfriend, and I had one. I can't remember her last name, but I do know her first name, if inquiring minds want to know, because she was a senior when I was a freshman, which is odd, but I was
your age, yeah.
older. So we were close in age because I was older. And she left A&M, graduated, went to South Texas. That's not why I applied to South Texas, but went to South Texas and was there for less than a year, probably first semester, and dumped me. Broke up with me for a lawyer.
Do we know who that guy is?
Tell us his name.
Kyle will fight him.
That man was Rusty Hard.
Don't let Kyle's builds fool you. He's got a great ground and pound.
Well, the thing is, I fight dirty.
Yeah.
Well, if I do my homework, I'm sure I could find out who he is.
But look, we're gonna let bygones be bygones.
Well, I'm looking at maybe hosting a fundraiser where we could just have lawyers throw on some boxing gloves. I think this would be a great main card.
Her first name was Ashley, though. Ashlee. That's her last name, but she broke up with me.
Ashley, if you're out there, the Dirty Verdict would love to have you on.
Yeah.
ASHLEE.
Broke up with me for
We're looking for you.
Knew it was wrong. He was a short, fat, bald guy. All right, so I know he was for money.
I love this. This is what I wanted.
So, Mark, this guy was a lawyer, and she was like a law clerk at his firm, and he probably left his wife. He left his wife for this young law student.
Ashley, you could have done so much better.
She was pretty. She was a pretty.
Let's be honest. 99% certain this guy was an insurance defense lawyer.
She graduated from South Texas. Okay, so and I was heartbroken. I drove down from College Station to her apartment. Like, why would you leave for this guy? Like something out of Hitch, before he became that guy when he was outside the.
I would have thought you were the Will Smith in this, but yeah, I get what you're saying now.
Outside of the window and it's raining down and he's knocking on the window like, why would you do this?
You just needed a boombox over the head.
And that was horrible. It was.
Did you go to her window and a couple of trumpet notes to
serenade? Yeah.
No, it was more of an apartment door to go like a.
Yeah.
Man, you banging out the apartment door.
And a fat.
And I saw the dude.
Oh,
he was in there. Oh, he was there.
He was in there.
And he just never run so fast.
Maintain professionalism.
I would not open that door.
Why? And she walked outside, had this Dear John conversation with me, and I got back on my motorcycle, went back to College Station with my tail between my legs. And it wasn't until about 2 or 3 years later.
I'm going to go to law school.
Yeah, well, 2 or 3 years later, my advisor was Dr. Frank Stanford, and he was telling me, he's like, well, going forward, I mean, you can get into law school, Mark. And I'm like, what?
Then I can find that son of a bitch that stole my girlfriend.
He's like, it's a doctorate degree? Because I was telling you, he was asking me about what I wanted to go do with my career. And I was like, well, I'm going to go back in the Marine Corps. He's like, well, have you considered additional education? And that's when, Because you have to remember, I came from an environment where even going to college was not on the table. That it's not. You don't let's not even talk about it. Don't get your hopes up. It's just not going to happen. And so here I am, not only just in college, but at Texas A&M, and about to get a degree. So for me, I'm already, I could die the next day and be happy that I have completed life. I got to the Marine Corps, which I would never thought would happen in the first place growing up in the environment I did, that I got into not only the Marines, but also kicked ass in the Marines and everything I did, every school I went through as honor graduate, taught Marine everywhere I went. And getting out of that and to go to A&M, walking onto the, football team, scrawny little trumpet player, getting on without any prior football experience on the starting 105, and then getting into bodybuilding and everything I did. Next year, I'm getting a degree from Texas A&M. So for me, I felt like I was, top of the world, $1 million man. Like I almost felt like this is a dream. It's like imposter syndrome almost. Like this is not happening to someone like me. And so when Dr. Stanford was telling me about, well, you can get a master's, you can actually get a PhD, suddenly, well, I've already done the Marines, so do I go back as an officer? And plus, and all that stuff that they can't even guarantee that I'm gonna get back into intelligence, or let me ride this educational train that I'm on and see how far I can go, because at that time I was still young, I was still in my upper 20s, so I still had years before I could still go back in the Marine Corps. So I'm like, well, let me see how far I can go on this, because if I get off this train, I'm not going to get back on it.
Yeah.
And so I was too scared. And so he was like, we can stay at A&M, we can do a master's and then a PhD, or you can go to law school. That's a doctorate degree. So that you had me hooked right there, a doctorate. I'm like, doctorate degree? Oh, wow. And lawyer, like a law degree? I didn't even think about being a lawyer. I just thought, if I get a degree from A&M and a law degree, you know what's certain in my future is I'm not going to have to sleep on anyone's couch ever again. I'm going to have a job, And then for me, at that time, it was hard. Life after the Marine Corps was hard. Life at A&M was hard, I don't come from money, all right? Being around all those other people, there's a couple of athletes that I bonded with that were from a similar background. And so that future, that door opening was huge. And so, and then remembering back that this girl 2-3 years ago had left me for a lawyer.
Yeah, Ashley.
Yeah. And I didn't even remember that it was 2 E's. I didn't even remember the something she had got accepted to at the time. And then Frank Stanford, I think he's still at A&M. He's a double doctorate at A&M. He was my philosophy professor in a couple classes. Great.
Does he know how much he meant to you? Have you told him?
He does now.
Okay. Because I have a similar guy in my background, and I didn't tell him till I was out of law school. And he was a big deal for me from like 14 to, he taught me a lot. And so I finally told him. He was like, had no idea.
Oh, there was two guys at college that changed my life. It was Frank Stanford, who planted that seed. And then he's an attorney right now in College Station, Craig Greening. Craig Greening was an attorney he's still a criminal defense attorney.
Yeah, I was going to say, I saw him do a case. Yeah, I saw him do a case with Dan Cogdale when I was in law school. We drove up for him.
He's big time now, big time. At the time when I was in law school, he was still a big guy. He was working for a law firm at the time. And he was my attorney that helped me out with all my traffic tickets I got and all that. I was causing trouble at A&M just as much as I am now. And Craig, I went to him, told him I was interested in law school. He's like, if you're serious about this, he's like, I used to sit on the board on admissions at UT. I can help you with the letter, show you how to write your letter, things like that, what they're looking for, how to structure your package to get in. So, Frank Stanford planted the seed, and Craig Greening kind of helped usher me and showed me how to do what I needed to do to get into law school. And wasn't for those two gentlemen, I wouldn't be here.
So you get into law school, you terrify all of these like very attractive, tall, dark, and handsome, students that are next to you.
And you show up and Ashley's not there.
Yeah.
I saw her at a 1L event.
God damn it.
We were at a 1L event. I think they were doing the 1L, socials or something. And I saw her at an event, and she saw me, and she was like, "Wait, you go to school here?"
Did you just double barrel the middle fingers to her?
I was being
No, you gotta walk up and give her a hug and be like, "How are things working out?"
Yeah. Hello there, Ashley.
With 2 E's.
Oh, really? Well, we're gonna find out. Our fan base is dedicated.
13, 14 years ago. But yeah, I don't know where she's at now.
Did you like law school?
I wanted to say, so with your background, and I remember the big push because I was actually like very much considering JAG. Did you consider it?
I did.
Because the hardest thing about me for JAG was, one, I destroyed my knees, and if you're gonna do JAG, the Marine Corps, like, he was the coolest salesman. As far as like the recruiters, each different branch had their own recruiter to come talk to us. And the Marine guy was the coolest guy. I mean, he was jacked, and he's like, you're going to go to boot camp because you're going to be a Marine first, and then you'll go to JAG school. And everybody else was like, we're going to put you in this. Yeah. Everybody's like, we're going to sprinkle a little bit of a officer candidate school into you as you're like going into JAG program, and you'll be a captain. No, don't worry about it. The Marine was like, no. Like, everyone's going to torture you in boot camp just like every other Marine. And like the way he said it was like, I really want to do that. But I knew I'd never in a million years would have gotten close to the physical.
You know, who was in my, I don't think he was in my class, but I think maybe the class behind me at South Texas, A&M quarterback Corey Pullick. Do you remember Corey Pullick?
No.
He won a Deer conference. I think
Deer Park.
Yeah. Southwest.
He was Deer Park.
100% Deer Park.
Southwest Conference champion, 1994. Corey Pullick. Anyway.
Yeah.
I was there with Stephen McGee was our coordinator.
Well, so did what veered you away from JAG? Since you wanted really?
I was older.
You were like 35?
I graduated law school at 32.
Okay.
And so that was kind of the cutoff. And remember, I had gotten into bodybuilding. So after football and law school,
That's what we all have in common.
Yeah, that's the same. I'm not going to, when I said I couldn't pass the physical.
This is metrics and Four Loko.
That's what Friendswood upbringing will do to you.
Mustangs never punt.
The mean streets of Friendswood, Texas. Yeah, he can see it through his jacket.
Broke. And his jacket is ripped.
I don't want to do a pose down,
Yeah. Dude,
but I think it's a 56 large.
56.
Well, I didn't want to say anything. I'm a 55 short, but
Port. It's a port.
that's it between me and the Lord.
So just you feel like you're too old. You don't have to go back. You go straight into OCS, right?
yeah, we got to go back to the OCS. Let's go to basic school, things like that, because I was enlisted when I got out. And so
Right. So you got
JAG, you're an officer, so you still have to go through the basic school, officer candidate school, all that stuff.
and then JAG,
And then JAG school.
which gotta suck.
And like man,
Or what do they call it? UCMJ school or something like that?
I can't recall at the time, but it was still like, man, I'm going to be 2 years at the boot camp pretty much. At 32 years old, and you understand, I was 280 when I got out of law school.
Oh, dude, I was with you in law school. I remember, like, he's massive sitting next to me. He was scary 10 years ago, like 12 years ago.
My wife still says that. She's like, because they were like, man, you're big now. She's like, you should have seen him in college.
Yeah, no, I'm a big guy. Like, everybody, like, Kyle is like, oh, you tower over me. I'm like, you don't have to say it out loud, Kyle. But then I get next to you, and I'm like, if he wanted me, I couldn't even slow him down. Exactly. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Just let it hang.
Get a room. We're here. So what steers you to criminal defense? God, that's gonna be such a good clip. Damn it! I'm not in on like the hot end of it, but I was in on it. He did touch my mouth. Yeah. They're soft. Yeah, they're red right now. I'm usually very cool under pressure.
Yes.
Not happening right now.
But hold on. Bill, are you blushing?
I'm 100% blushing right now.
It's time.
No, it's the bourbon.
Yeah.
Let me reframe it.
Get us back on track, Peter.
Mark, out of law school, did you go right into criminal defense?
No, I did. I was in a biker club for a while. And I was at a bar while I was in law school with a bunch of friends of mine that were in this club. And I guess one of them had caught a criminal charge. He got the case dismissed. We're sitting in this bar probably between my first year of law school, first, second year of law school, summertime. And his attorney walked into the bar. And so his attorney was Mark Thiessen. So Mark Thiessen walked into the bar. We're kind of all sitting at this table, and our friend is he's no longer here with us, but his name was Terry Muckleroy. So Terry Muckleroy was like, "Oh man, that's my attorney Thiessen. He's the one that got me off this big case I was in." And so he goes up, finds Mark. I think Mark at the time was working for Trichter and Murphy, and brings Mark over to the table, introduces everybody to him and him to everybody. And I'm kind of sitting in the corner by myself, and he was, everyone goes, "Yeah, Big Mark over there, he's in law school too." He's like, "You are?" Because remember at the time, I'm, tattooed, large guy, just a tank top, sitting there, just having a Jack of Coke, and he's like, "Wait, what law school are you in?" I was like, "South Texas." He's like, Because I graduated from South Texas. What are you doing with that? I'm like, "I have no idea. I don't know anything about taking the bar exam, being a lawyer. I just wanted to get, like I said, I just want to get the degree. I'm happy just to get that, And he's like, "Well, why don't you come hang out with me for a little bit? I'll kind of show you the ropes, show you, what's going on." And kind of, we became friends that day. And I was kind of shadowing Mark Thiessen for a long time when he was at Trichter Murphy. And then when he started his own firm, brought me with him. And that was in July 2011. I think I was at 2L.
Yep.
And so when he started his law firm in 2011, I was his intern, and he taught me everything he knew for about a couple of years. And then when I graduated law school, passed the bar exam, hired me as his associate, and I worked for him for quite a number of years before I started my own firm.
Thiessen and I were in the same law school class and section, so small world.
Mark Thiessen really is. He was if they say I'm the, he's the Obi-Wan. He's the one who.
So Mark's actually going to be, we're doing a Halloween special. Oh. And we invited Mark specifically because of the costumes. So he'll be here in like a week and a half.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
He's the fun pants. He's great.
So
him and Miss Thiessen, I think.
Yes.
Too, right?
Okay.
Tally. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, Mark. I credit Mark for everything I am today. He like I said, he took me in off the street. Literally had no idea about me. Taught me everything he had to know. Provided me great opportunities, and that's how I got a criminal defense when I was in law school. So I credit him for that. I didn't have to apply to the DA like everyone else. They couldn't find a place. I didn't know Tony at the time. I didn't know Mr. Busby. I didn't know any big names. So of course I didn't have anyone to apply to for personal injury, things like that. And so Mark kind of took me under his wing, and I worked for him for quite a while, and then started my own firm. And like I said, I didn't even want to leave. In fact, I think I left prematurely. I should have probably stuck around for a little while, but I just had this calling to go to Galveston. I just had to go to Galveston. I wanted to go back to Galveston.
So that was my next question is, Mark does great work, tons of DUI stuff up here, and a fantastic firm, but he's firmly planted in Houston. He does a few things in Colorado and a few other places. Why did you want to go back? I'm assuming most of your practice is in Galveston.
Yeah.
Why did you want to go back to the island so bad?
You said it goes all the way back to high school. You said in high school, Galveston was where I got to escape from my reality. It's where I got to escape from my problems. It's where I got to escape from stress. When I went down to the islands, nothing else mattered. The flagship was there back then. We could go to the flagship, park on the flagship, and just watch the waves, surf the waves.
My parents' honeymoon there.
My whole life was going to Galveston. Kind of fancy. They had what they call the Causeway Cure, and that's where I would run to for safety, to feel, like myself again, and nothing else. All my problems went away, and so here I'm in Houston, and I found myself on my weekends going to Galveston more and more, and I'd finally get a hotel room once I started making some good money. I could afford to get a hotel room instead of sleep on the seawall of my car, and I would find myself, Sunday, night, and then Monday morning driving back to Houston to go to court or go to work. And I just was like, when I would leave the island depressed, man, I don't want to leave. And so I just stayed there more and more and more to where I just like, that's where I want to live. That's where I want to go.
See, I was the opposite. I did maritime defense. So I would spend my weekends in Houston, and then Monday morning, I would have to drive down to Judge Kent's chambers to get my head kicked in by
Peter and Tony.
Not me.
Yeah.
Maybe Tony.
Just headed down to the civil courthouse to get screamed at.
I will add on this because you mentioned Thiessen, and it reminded me of something where I still view myself as a younger lawyer. you're a year older than me. Yeah.
I still consider myself a baby lawyer.
But there are specific people who chime in conversations and people don't treat them as normal lawyers. And that's you, because on Facebook, not too long ago, somebody called out Mark Thiessen, and you chimed in, and the conversation shifted into apologies. And so I was just wondering, like, one,
I wonder why.
yeah, well, it wasn't threatening in any way. He was like, hey, that's disrespectful. Like, he said it in a very eloquent way of like, what you're saying is wrong. It's not true, and stop spreading it. And I don't remember who it was between or anything like that. But yeah, but you chimed in and people listened. And I wondered, like, do you realize that you have that ability?
No, I don't.
You do. Yeah, it's happened multiple times on the Texas Lawyers page and all that.
I see the social media stuff. I see all of it. If I don't see it, someone tags me or someone sends me a screenshot of it. I just don't like this keyboard warrior.
You're the best because we
that we're in. But what I like to think, if anyone thinks anything of me, is if I say something, I'm going to do it. I want, and I have the mugshots to prove it. I have no problem punching someone in their mouth outside. I'm not going to do it disrespectfully inside the chambers, but I have no problem punching a lawyer in his face in the hallway, outside the courtroom, in the street, at a CLE, and if we go to a banquet somewhere, I have no problem knocking someone out if it's for something I believe in. And you have to understand too,
in a metaphorical way,
and
in the literal way. In the actual way it's happening.
If it gets to that point, you have to understand it's kind of like being in trial. You don't ever call a witness a liar. And if you have to, they've already screwed you over 2, 3, 4 times.
And you better be right.
It is to the point to where you can feel like the jury is always giving you that permission to say what is on their minds. And you're kind of speaking for the whole. And so when it comes to something like that on social media, it's got to be to the point to where you were so wrong. You were so disrespectful what you did, and no one else has the guts to say it or is going to say, so I'm going to say it.
So I'm one of the guys that...
I'm going to be the guy that does it because, and if it's done, if I have to, because I think before I speak, as much as a lot of people don't think I do, I think well before I speak, I think before I act. So if I do something, it was done for a damn good reason. And there was that person had many chances, they had many opportunities to correct their wrongs, and they're not doing it, and no one else is standing up for what's right. No one else is doing what they're supposed to do. So I would do it, and I don't care about the consequences that happen to me, because if it came before a judge or a jury or God up above, they're like, you did the right thing. Even if it was maybe not the right in man's law, it was the right thing to do, semantically or at least by principle.
And that is why everybody listens when he speaks.
Mark does mostly DWI, DUI stuff, but a lot of other stuff. Is there a focus for your practice in Galveston?
Well, and that's the thing. There's no disrespect to Mark Thiessen, not at all. I'm sure. And regarding DWI, and I tell everybody this, and I say this still to this day, he is, in my mind, one of the best in DWI.
For sure.
But I wanted more than DWI.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been clawing my way, trying to get out of that. I still do DWI because he taught me how to do it, and I do it well. But, I want the big news cases. I want the big major felony cases. I want to do trying to get into personal injury. I want to get, I see guys like Tony Busby and Mo, Muhammad Aziz.
And Bill Ogden. Yeah, I get it.
You run the world with the verdicts you got.
I would not put my name next to Mo and Tony, but I appreciate that.
I see these guys, and I know I've got a lot of work to do. I've got a lot of years ahead of me. I've only been doing this 10 years now. And like I said, I still see myself as a baby lawyer. I very well know my role. I very well know my place in society. That's circling back. That's why when I said what I had to say on that post, I was a little bit almost embarrassed to do it because, and I ended that. It was like, I should not be the voice of reason here.
I agree. I remember.
Speaking to my elders, and my elders, they should be the ones saying this, not me. I feel like if I've got to be the voice of reason here,
something terrible has happened before.
I'm the junior grade speaking to the commanding officer. That's not right.
And I remember you saying that too, which is like, I'm not the guy that does this. We have a Mount Rushmore of criminal defense lawyers that should be policing ourselves.
I still see myself as a very junior lawyer.
I agree.
And I have nothing but, in the attorney I was directing that to, I still, like I said in my post.
Yeah, a ton of respect. Yep.
I have a lot of respect for my seniors. I respect seniority very much. and especially what we do as a living. And so I look up to all these guys.
Well, I've seen you call out a number of instances of what I call like just pure bullshit. Of some, like on social media, somebody does something probably not thinking in the moment, but does something disrespectfully, and Mark will chime in. He does not have a filter, and I madly respect it.
Because and like I said, anything I see online, I'll say to their face.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
Straight through.
yeah, he will.
Because but that's going back to what you were saying, is that's where I'm trying to get. I want to be, I want to be the next Tony Busby. I do want to be the next Muhammad Aziz. I want to be the next big Jim Adler. I want to be that guy that's kicking ass in those trials, getting those big verdicts, doing that thing. And that's kind of why I started my own firm, was to try to get out there and get my name out there. And that may never come. It may never come. But I might never get that case that walks in the door. But it's not going to be for lack of trying.
I want to ask you some questions about.
That's why I started my own firm.
Ask you some questions about some cases you've handled. Tell me any crazy, big name, crazy cases you want to.
Yeah, favorite case,
Favorite case, favorite client, something impactful.
something that mattered to you. Yeah, any of them.
There's so many.
I know.
Kind of the first big media case I was involved in was the Bandito case out there in Waco.
Waco, yeah. The Cossacks. Cossacks?
The Banditos versus the Cossacks. Well, it's more like the Banditos Cossacks versus law enforcement.
Versus the Constitution.
Exactly.
We stepped in and handled a bunch of that as
And
well.
it's been my understanding that Kent Schaefer he's the kingpin of most of these biker gangs.
Most of the federal litigation falls under Ken. But yeah, that was a case that tested kind of like what Dan Cogdill always said about the Branch Davidian case.
Yeah.
That was,
Ugly facts, but that's where you make law.
Dan Cogdill to the Branch Davidians. That was kind of how I felt with the Bandito case after listening to him talk about it. That almost bankrupted me.
Really?
Oh, dude, we were up there. That's a 5-hour drive from Galveston. And
Yeah.
needed me up there once, twice.
It was in Waco, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Clinton County.
It's weird. Like all the really normal, not bizarre legal stuff definitely doesn't happen in Waco.
Yeah, wait. So you don't know this yet, but every episode we shit on Baylor at some point. It's super fun. It's not hard either. They're always in the media for something.
Not just always Baylor. Sometimes we talk about
Carson Yoakum, the
that guy.
I know Carson extremely well.
Yoakum, Morgan Burke, your Baylor Bears. Baylor Bears.
I know Carson extremely well.
Sometimes we crap on Chip and Joanna. Sometimes we talk about like the McLennan County DA's office.
Title IX today.
Title IX cases today. Like we have a deep abiding love for Waco. We just want Waco. We just want you to try better. Like
Yeah, just whatever you're doing, do it better than that.
be better.
Mark, who did you represent in that Banditos deal?
I was on the side of the Banditos. I had 9 defendants. So from various Bandito chapters.
Were they?
What was the outcome of that?
Well, the outcome was they ended up dismissing a bunch of the cases early on, but then they re-indicted a couple dozen others under a riot act. All right. And that's what a lot of people don't realize is, and that riot act is they were trying to charge them with Class B misdemeanors. And from what my understanding was that under that riot act, you were the punishment level was that you were guilty of the highest level of crime that was committed during that riot.
Correct.
So it's an easy case to prove.
It's like a joint several.
So they were trying to get murder charges, but here's the problem: is that everyone that was alleged to have committed murder was also killed themselves during that action. So you had half the guys of the deceased, half of the deceased had killed another deceased, but that those gentlemen were killed by law enforcement.
So give us 2-minute general overview. 2 biker gangs, they're at a meet.
Twin Peaks.
And then a bunch of cops show up, gunfight ensues. What am I, tell me what else the case was about.
Or that was pretty much it. It was
Okay.
It was over a bottom rocker.
In Texas, on the back of a leather jacket, you're not allowed to rock. The rocker is the Texas.
They gave them permission to use the Texas rocker.
You have to pay dues
They
and
said you couldn't make it, size 36 font.
yeah.
And so, if you're going to have a Texas rocker, it's going to be a certain size font and it costs like
These to Peter and Kyle. So I represent a lot of motorcycle groups, clubs. I've done a lot. These two don't know why the bottom rocker is, one, important, and two, who regulates it. So give them the run.
When you say Kyle and Peter, you mean like 99%.
Yeah, anybody that doesn't I have a lot of information of knowledge. He has way more on Texas motorcycle
I'll also
clubs.
say this. The ability for me and Peter to fly under the radar as biker kingpins so far is pretty impressive.
I don't know. You, yes. Pete, he's got Sons of Anarchy written all over.
Makeup we have to put on for like the
Teardrops.
drop biker tattoos.
No, so
It's called pancake making.
one of y'all please explain the bottom rocket issue.
Rocker.
Like a rocking chair. Bottom rocker is it's your territory.
Okay.
It could be a state such as Texas. It could be a county. It could be an area. It could be a city. And so the Texas bottom rocker has historically always been a Banditos rocker because the Banditos were started here in 1966. They were one of the first clubs in Texas. There's only a couple clubs that were started before them that were allowed to wear that rocker. And it's a sign of respect. It's a sign of respect between outlaw motorcycle clubs of the territory you designate. For instance, Hells Angels have California. The Banditos have Texas, just to name two of the big two. And then if there's some other clubs that have been around for a while and they've, kind of paid their dues with their timing, a lot of the activities that they associate themselves with, through the Confederation of Clubs, the COC, then they will be given permission to wear that as well. And that's what the Cossacks were given, were permission to wear that rocker. And but they weren't given permission to wear it 3 times the size
of the Banditos.
And that's kind of where the disrespect came in, was that they're going to wear, a larger size. And so that meeting was designed to kind of discuss that issue there.
Like a peace treaty.
So like when you say rocker, it's like the bottom of a rocking chair.
Yeah.
So on a motorcycle jacket, you've got your
Right.
logo or badge, and then the rocker is the
you have
the
a
tilted. It says Texas.
You have a 3-piece patch. So you have the top rocker, names the name of your club.
The Dirty Verdict.
Yeah.
Yep.
The centerpiece would be your logo or your
Badge or
badge or size. So it'd be a
shield.
probably the scales of justice with a oak leaf cluster surrounded.
Yeah. And then underneath would say Greenway Plaza.
Yes.
No, ours would say like Marshall Islands.
Houston.
If they're going to come after
Upper-
us, they gotta
upper curvy.
fly a long way.
Well, so the problem is if you have a bottom rocker that's not Texas, and you're going to drive through, then you got to figure out whether or not you got to take your jacket off if you're going to drive through that territory. Like there's a lot that goes into this, and it's a very serious thing.
Four clubs in Houston, for example, you would have West Houston or South Houston, North Houston. You might have Baytown.
I might have like Rice Village.
Friendswood would be you.
Pretty hard.
No.
So I grew up in the mean streets of Friendswood, but now I'm rocking it in Rice Village, West U.
So you'd be Centro,
I mean, shit is tough on the streets out there.
Jeez. Yep.
West Houston.
But yeah,
Okay, so back to the meeting at the Twin Peaks.
didn't go well.
There, of course, there's not a mediator there
Apparently,
to help.
someone ran over someone's foot.
Yeah.
Someone took over someone's spot. Someone started. It's like anything else in life, any other type of event. You got 2 guys squabbling it out. Next thing you know, people jump on each other, and
Yeah, it gave everybody a reason.
I mean, it happened in Houston today in Hazel Jones's courthouse.
Yeah, so
There's a melee. It started with the victim's mother coming off of the witness stand. I'm assuming it was after a victim impact statement.
Yeah.
Because the defendant entered into a plea deal, and then one person came, another person came. I don't know who was involved at that point. I think maybe it was someone from
friends always get
the side, and so that's easy starting a melee. But the problem is that law enforcement was already on scene. They had got advance notice that these 2 organizations were coming together and that there might be some sort of dispute. And it didn't even get to the point to where there was a talking or there was a meeting. It was because it was a Confederation of Clubs meeting, which is a sanctioned meeting from all clubs all over Texas, non-outlaw clubs, to discuss bikers' rights out of the legislature in Austin. So, the helmet rules.
like they have lobbyists. This is very organized, not in like an organized crime way, like an organizational way.
Criminal meetup. This was an actual bikers advocacy meeting
Public policy.
of organizations. I mean, there was Christian motorcycle clubs there, veteran motorcycle clubs there, just regular independents that were just wondering about biker advocacy and biker rights regarding the rules and regulations on the road. Is one
TLR, TADC, all those.
was one of the is white lining going to become legal in Texas? What's the liability for helmet loss? Things like that was discussed, And then of course these the bigger clubs come because they're part of the COC as well. And it didn't even get to the meeting part. There was just this fracas
Gunfight.
in the. Well, it started as a little fight in the thing. Of course, everyone's carrying weapons, and a lot of the weapons came out as self-defense. And then, of course, the officers that are present, snipers on the roof, already there.
Odd.
Yeah. And I guess a couple of the alleged defendants that were alleged to have murdered people were also then shot down by police. So we didn't have any murder convictions. So circling back all the way to the initial question, there was no convictions for murder. There was no convictions for aggravated assault, deadly weapon, or any of the other first or second degree felonies that were alleged. And so after the Jake Carousel trial ended up in a
Hung twice, yeah?
yeah, once.
Just one. Okay.
Who tried that?
Casey Gosho. And so after that trial, I was second up on my case. And that's after they had dismissed everybody. They had re-indicted a couple dozen more on the Riot Act throughout the organized crime cases because they knew they weren't going to make this. And realized that, guess what? To get someone on the Riot Act for that enhanced punishment you want, you have to have a conviction for that punishment. You can't get a conviction for that punishment. If you can't get a conviction, then we spend millions of dollars, months of trial for a Class B misdemeanor, or 6 months of jail, which you probably already served, by the way. So it's going to be time served anyway. And so that case was continued to the following year when the new DA, the elected DA, taken over, and he ended up dismissing the rest of those 24 cases because they couldn't make their case.
And that was it.
Because they were trying it for the riot conviction. They wanted the blood,
The murders.
Yeah.
They wanted years. Yeah.
Their pound of flesh.
Trump.
I think
9.
But they were all bikers?
Well, no. The craziest thing about this story, from a civil standpoint, which is what the realm we deal in, is they arrested everyone. Like, yeah, and for a while, a lot of people had no idea. Like, I spoke to some of these people. They had no idea why they were arrested. They didn't get, and there were so many, they couldn't arraign them in time.
sitting at the Twin Peaks on your motorcycle having lunch, and all these guys showed up. Like, what the hell's going on here? And actually, there's shootout. You taking cover. You were right.
You got arrested. And there's the 1983 case on that was massive. There was a priest, I think, he was like a pastor or like a motorcycle pastor that it was a big deal. He got arrested.
People lost their jobs, lost their whole careers, lost their life savings.
I will say I saw the video of, I assume it's one of the police body cams of them walking through Twin Peaks after the fact, and just the different types of things on the ground were, from guns to knives to what it was.
Brass knuckles.
Oh, everything you could imagine, and some stuff you've never seen before. It was impressive.
Like a commemoration.
Yeah, Josh, see if you can find it. I think it's on YouTube. See if you can find it.
What? Remember Dirty Verdict set of brass knuckles?
Sure. They're legal now thanks to the Liberty Caucus.
So, yeah.
They were dead. They are now.
They are now. Yeah.
What was the outcome of the civil?
They've settled some. The county.
Twin Peaks. I'm sure they're like.
I don't think
what
Twin
did we do
Peaks
wrong?
did. I think the county. It was all federal 1983 stuff. I don't remember if I'm fairly certain I saw the settlement. I don't know the amount off the top of my head, but it was a problem for that county because they just arrested everyone. And I get both sides, which is like, we don't know who the problem is, but we have them here now. Arrest everyone and we'll figure it out later. But they never even really, I never saw anything that showed that they ever actually tried to figure it out. They just arrested everybody. They were like,
$1 bonds.
For everyone. They were seeking $1 million bonds, 7-figure bonds.
I feel the 57-year-old lady who's a school teacher, you clearly see with no prior criminal history.
Jumps on the ground. Yeah, and there's cameras everywhere.
Keep her and hold up on $1 million bond.
For like weeks, right?
You can do some due diligence just to kind of separate these guys.
The county definitely invited a lot of they mishandled it at the end. But I'm in no position to say like this is what you should have done. I don't know how I act in that. I know that a number of civil rights, based on what I know now, were violated.
I feel like Twin Peaks got sued just because maybe that had been a known gathering place for these types of summits.
I'm not too familiar with the civil side of it.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say, "Oh, I've never heard of a Twin Peaks before." Just covering, you gotta go see your wife later. I don't know what's Twin Peaks.
I don't know if this
Yeah.
So Mark,
Mountain themed restaurant.
Sure.
Skiers and alpine enthusiasts.
Yep.
I was Firestone.
very cold beer.
The coldest. I hear the coldest. I've never tried it, but many people have said it's the greatest, coldest beer.
So
I mean, that's crazy. But
I was gonna say, Mark, any other notable kind of interesting cases?
We're in a murder case right now.
Yeah.
Actually, it's down in Galveston. It's gonna probably make headlines. The rest made headlines. Can't really discuss it right now.
Which court are you in?
The 56th District Court.
Yeah, Patricia Grady?
Judge Cox.
Oh, Lonnie. Yeah, that's Cox. Yeah.
I've had a couple hearings in Judge Cox's.
I like Judge Cox. He's awesome.
Great.
Fantastic judge. Fantastic judge.
Galveston actually has a great, I know Jeff Joneswell, Jared Robinson, like Milo.
One complaint in Harris County is different. If I did, I wouldn't say their names, but in Galveston, not one complaint about one judge there. Every judge is
Fair. That's all you want.
fair. They are equal. There's not one judge that's more defense friendly than state friendly.
That's how it should be. It's weird that we have to have this conversation.
It's
How uncommon it is.
Yeah.
It's every judge in there. I feel completely comfortable walking to any court down there at any time, approaching the judge without having any type of fear or complacency. And oh, well, they're not going to do this or not going to do that. I have no problem. Even in a PSI hearing, I feel completely confident going into a PSI in front of any one of those judges, knowing that I have a good shot at getting what we're asking for. Because once they hear our facts, once they hear the recommendation of the probation department, that they're going to, and it's very rare I do a PSI, but even at those, sometimes people think, oh, you're kind of, you're done at that point. No, I've seen a lot of great outcomes because they actually consider the facts in the case. They actually consider the person, the citizen accused, and who they are as an individual, not just why we're here, but they're all concerned about how did we get here.
Which is how it should be.
And all the judges in Galveston County, I think, are very fair.
So down there in Galveston, you have been cobbling together a bit of a real estate empire, building some kind of what people call castles. Tell us what's your interest with the architecture of the island and what you're down there with your wife trying to build.
We're currently right now about to launch an event venue down there and a miniature hotel. Nothing too crazy. Nothing too it's kind of like a miniature Galvez, miniature Tremont.
Okay.
Right on there on Market Street between 25th and 26th Street. Though we've got I love the architecture, Victorian architecture.
So if there are listeners out there that have not been down to Galveston or aren't familiar with Galveston, Galveston was like the largest city west of the Mississippi, bigger than San Francisco for a long, long time.
Queen itself.
And there are some beautiful old buildings. So, for example, the bar at the Tremont House was the center of Reconstruction government for the state of Texas, the Tremont Hotel.
It was.
That bar was where the Union generals met and administered the entire state of Texas. And there's some incredible old buildings down there.
No, there is. It's the architecture down there is second to none. It's beautiful. All the Victorian architecture, the Strand area, all the big houses down Broadway Street, things like that. We have a wonderful historical foundation on there, and some of the properties that I have reflect as such. And we're committed to, like a lot of people down there are, to beautifying the island, revitalizing it, renovating it, and our view to the public. Like I said, I bought these properties with the sole purpose of renovating them and releasing them back to the public as an event venue for people to have their weddings, parties, things like that, whatever they want to do. And with hotel rooms attached or villas attached, things like that. Kind of like your own little personal resort and spa down there.
Where's your office?
I office at the Hill & Hill Law Firm off 21st and Church, 2116 Church Street with Mark Hill. He's the eminent domain real estate property lawyer down there, and I have my office inside of his larger office.
Nice. You came all the way up here from Galveston today?
Yeah.
Man.
So, restaurant recommendations for those who are
Yeah, Galveston.
Island. Yeah.
Rudy and Paco's.
Okay.
Vargo's, Rudy and Park.
Rudy and Paco's and Vargas, they're right across the street from each other. If you want something that's quiet, it's very romantic, wonderful food.
For the two of you.
Yeah,
I'm in.
and if you're wanting something more
Hell, I'll buy.
more energetic, a lot of fun, and the San Luis Resort has an amazing place called the Steakhouse, and got the Grotto. Both wonderful areas to eat, but they also have got, nightlife in there and things like that because they're within the San Luis Resort. But yeah, if you're looking downtown by the Strand area, you can't get better than Rudy and Paco's or Vargas. Or if you're on the Strand, Riondo's for Italian food.
Hondos. Okay, I've never been there.
In that old building?
Yeah.
Yeah, Riondo's right there. They just took a new owner. In fact, the executive chef, Riondo of Riondo's, his son, who's an attorney, bought the building or recently, and they've done a lot of renovations.
You
But
go to the Mosquito Grill much?
I do, yeah. Mosquito Grill, because there's a Sunflower Cafe and a Mosquito Grill. They're right next to each other. Sometimes Sunflower Cafe is a sit-down service.
Yep.
And if they're way too busy, you can go to Mosquito Grill because there are, what do they call that when you go up to the counter?
Like order at the counter. Yeah, the counter service.
If you get early enough, Miller's, which is right next to the Galvez, on the seawall, has a wonderful breakfast, but also the Galvez as well. Their brunch, if you want a brunch on the island, when Galvez has their brunch, you can't beat that.
Tremont House has a great bar upstairs.
I think it's not open yet. It's about to be open. I think this next spring it opens because they renovated the whole thing. It's supposed to be the next best thing once it opens. But yeah, if you're looking for a great brunch to Galvez, you can't beat that.
Seafood? What do you recommend?
It's your Rudy and Paco's, Vargas, Steakhouse, Grotto. I mean, especially Rudy and Paco's and Vargas, their seafood is for dinner is amazing. But if you're looking for a good lunch spot and also dinner, Katie's on the pier right there, Katie's Seafood. It's you see, because Katie's Seafood has Katie's seafood house next door, the what do you call it, the seafood market. So they have their own ships. So all their own fleet of ships.
Fresh catch.
So everything's shipped to boat. So everything they catch that day is what they serve in the restaurant that day. So Katie's Seafood has probably the freshest seafood there. But then all these other restaurants carries their seafood from Katie's also.
Nice.
So we spoke a bunch about Ashley, Mr. Opportunities, but you've got a wonderful wife who's helping you renovate all of these buildings. Tell us about your lovely wife.
Well, I met Jenna in undergrad. So
all right.
She as a friend, she was dating a guy that works, I wouldn't say for me, but he was a balancer in one of the bars that I worked at. I was head of security. And
I don't see it.
so she was always part of like the barbell mafia, as we like to call it. All the bouncers, we work out together at Gold's Gym. So she was Nathan's girlfriend, so she would come up there and work out with us. So she got to know me that all the guys knew, because I wasn't trying to hit on her. She was, I really know this guy too well. I mean, I knew him, but it's just like, that's his girlfriend, the bro code. So never hit on her, never even looked at her in that light.
Yeah, Kyle.
So calm down, Bill.
It's called a code.
So she got to, she got to hang around us and got to know me as one of the guys. Got to know the real me, not the guy that you put on when you're going on a date or something like that. And then, all through college, and when her girlfriends wanted to go out, they'd always come to our bars at Northgate because they knew they were always protected. No one's going to mess with them. And if anyone did, it was, it was their ass, that we were, snapping in half, thrown out the door. So she got to know the real Mark Metzger that I'd like to think that I exude on a daily basis. I don't put up a false face for anybody, but
unless it's a literal mask.
Yeah.
That the police can't tell the difference, and then they have to put you in jail for that.
Or you see the ramifications of that. Actually,
the irony, Mark. Yeah. The irony.
You say them like they're bad ramifications. If you're a criminal defense lawyer on the island, best marketing of all time.
Yeah.
And that was the thing, is every comment on Facebook or YouTube, all those YouTube channels that took it and ran with it, like, oh, this guy's just doing a publicity stunt. Or Mike's like, nah,
you're like, no, it's not a publicity.
Yeah, he was just bored. Everyone evacuated and he was lonely.
It was fun. It was cool. There's no publicity behind it. I didn't know if someone was filming me. I didn't know the police were going to show up. I knew people were going to take photos and stuff. I was trying to make everyone stay a little bit brighter.
Yeah.
Have everyone have a little fun. I thought I might get around on social media. I did not think it was going to get where it got.
What are you going to be for Halloween this year? Well, it'd probably be a closely guarded secret.
This will be released after Halloween.
This will be released after Halloween, so you can tell us.
It's there's a couple different things I'm throwing around right now. Yeah. There's a guy. What is his name? Troy Hawk. Hawke.
The Law Hawk?
No. Troy Hawk. He's this guy. Yeah. We started with that guy. I should have had that Doritos commercial. That was my Super Bowl spot he took.
That's a great spot.
But we with Troy Hawk, he's it's an English joke British type thing. He gets in a smoker industry because it's almost like a lawyer. He gets in a smoker's jacket with the
Oh, and welcomes people.
Just like randomly stands outside stores.
You have great posture today, sir. I love your smile. It's very kind.
You have quite the chin. Congratulations.
Yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah.
So I've got the whole thing now.
Oh, you have like the velvet smoker's jacket. And,
I have to like grow this out a little bit. And
yeah.
the hair slicked over. So I was thinking on Halloween. I purposely don't have a docket on Halloween.
I was just gonna stand outside the courthouse.
And greet everybody, dude. So it's really, you have to do some research because that guy's greetings
They're so good.
they're great.
Him online. I've
So you walk like a man with impeccable heels. Like
Yes.
So it is Tony Hawk, H-A-W.
Troy Hawk. Yeah.
Troy Hawk, HAWKE.
And he just stands outside of random places.
Comedian. He's an English comedian in London. But Troy Hawk, that is a
Character, yeah.
And so I was thinking,
That'd be great. Or you can video it or have some, yeah.
I've never videoed any of my stunts. When I took the unicorn flotilla down the Strand when it was flooding, or
Yep.
surfed Harvey in
Didn't see that one.
the Michael Myers thing, a bunch of other stuff I've done. I've never, because like I said, I'm not a big YouTube guy. I've got a YouTube channel. So if we want to,
if we want to find your shenanigans, is it Instagram? Is it Facebook?
yeah, with the Facebook and Instagram is all okay, and it's under the hashtag The Island Attorney.
The Island Attorney. Okay.
And of course, I have a TikTok, but I don't have anything posted.
Yeah.
I just have these accounts.
See it. Lurk. You're a lurker. Me too.
What's your law firm website?
TheIslandAttorney.com.
The island. All right.
And everything's kind of The Island Attorney. And but yeah, we with that, I was thinking about doing that, but then also changing into more of a badkin with the fuzzy jacket.
Oh, going full Barbie. Yeah. You're going to go beach off some guys?
Are you going to
I will beach you
in the patriarchy
off so hard.
patriarchy as good as you can? Yeah, so good. Me too.
So we, I mean, to be honest, when I found out patriarchy had nothing to do with horses, I kind of lost interest.
Kind of what? This is the
No.
the patriarchy where the men make all the decisions and we have horses. So, which I love.
Well, the island attorney.
IslandAttorney.com.
All right, going over I don't know which website they were going to see. The one I created on my phone in 30 minutes on GoDaddy, or the one I've got someone redesigning right now. I don't know which one's up, but yeah,
Either one's amazing.
TheIslandAttorney.com.
Well, if you're in Galveston and you need criminal or civil help,
He's your guy.
here's your guy.
Mark Metzger, the Island Attorney. Bill, don't skip leg day anymore. I think we've learned an important lesson.
Yep. We
about leg
did.
day. And
We did.
Man, this was fantastic. Thanks so much for joining us, Mark.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Peter, you got anything left?
All good. Again, like us, subscribe, all those things, but also the Island Attorney, because you never know what's going to happen.
Oh yeah,
on that stage.
if y'all guys invite me back, I'll bring Chris Carlson on stage, and you can hear all about our hookers and cocaine and all our other crazy swinging from the chandelier stories out of Austin.
And next week, we're going to be back with Mark Metzger.
How do we turn that down?
We're not going to do any drugs.
All right. Well, thank you all. We will see you
I'm not
next
going to do a lot.
No.
I'm not going to do a lot of drugs. What do you meant to say?
No.
Not me.
Nope.
All right.
All right. Thank you for joining us. Adios, banditos.